Hey, what's going on YouTube? So today I'm going to bring you a video of the Miami Dolphins and what we might expect from the Miami Dolphins this year. A couple key notes here. They do have a new head coach. That was Mike McDaniel that was hired. This is his first time being a head coach from my understanding. Also, Justin let you know about Mike McDaniel. He first came in at the age of 22 as an intern under Mike Shanahan. And I'm sure he's probably gonna adopt his philosophy, his way of offensing the offense for the Miami Dolphins, if that makes any sense at all. But what that entails is that he's gonna set up a zone run, usually having the line go the direction while the quarterback, like a bootleg, and hitting the wide receivers in stride, which makes sense. They do have tons of running backs. They also have a ton of speedy wide receivers, and that just makes perfect sense with Tua and his accuracy. And Tua is a little mobile, so I think that's going to be the philosophy moving forward. But what does that mean for the number? And that's the only thing that really matters, is getting a good number. So here is some things that we can take into account. As you can see, all the totals here. Now, since we have a new head coach, a new philosophy, a new scheme, these totals aren't going to represent what we're going to get in the future. But what they do represent, and what this is a good indication of, is the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Brian Flores was a good head coach for this Miami Dolphins team. And let's look at the potential. Now, this isn't about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll probably do them next week. I'm going to be extremely conservative because, again, that's my favorite team. If you've been watching my channel, you kind of already know that, and I try not to be as biased as possible with that team, but it's extremely hard. So with that being said, let's get into these totals. Everything is under, as you can see, like almost under 40. I want to say 44.5 for the majority. And the games you look at, I mean, obviously you have the Raiders, Tampa Bay Bucks, and the Tennessee Titans, or not the Tennessee Titans, but the Atlanta Falcons, where they did go over the total. And looking at, oh, and another thing, one of the reasons why they went under, I would say it was because Tua was out, but Tua was only out 3-4 in game 5. He did get hurt game 2. Just note that he did get hurt with this Buffalo Bills game. So they lost to the Bills twice, but that was under 35-37. That defense was really good, really good. Also, Tua was hurt week 9, and they only scored 26 total points. That's actually very interesting. So if this was moving forward, they do have the potential. So looking at this to be extremely conservative with this team, because you got a new head coach there, and we want to be extremely conservative, I have to give them a +3 for the spread. So they automatically get 3 points. Now the defense, I don't think the defense is going to be the same, because you have to you have to specialize in the defense to have a defensive run like this. Like you have Baltimore, they had injuries. Obviously you had Houston, Carolina Panthers, New York. Then you had the New Orleans Saints. I mean, that makes sense that they didn't go over, because if you think about it, Houston was one of the worst teams last year. Baltimore had tons of injuries. Carolina Panthers, after week 3 with the Carolina Panthers, they started going downhill. So yeah, that makes sense that they didn't score a lot of points. You had the New York Giants. Again, that makes sense. And then you had the New Orleans Saints, which they didn't have a Jameis Winston at that point. So putting up points was kind of hard. So they were more defensive and run-minded team at that point. I'm talking about the Saints. And now you have your divisional opponents, New England, trying to figure it out. New York Jets, for some reason, the Jets put up a bunch of points. They put up a bunch of points, as well as New England. They can definitely light it up. So what does this actually mean? Oh, and let's go over here. Let's talk about these points real fast. or these totals, should I say. And as we can see, as far as the spread is concerned on their losses, we can definitely see that the Indianapolis Colts and the Tampa Bay Bucks, they did blow them out. They were blown out, but Tua was not into that game. And if he was in, like, again, they only lost by 3. But if he's in more majority of the time, I think they won with him in the game, with Tua in the game. They won more often than not. And another keynote is we can see, other than this Tennessee Titans team, where they lost by 31 points, it just gets to a point where it's like, is this really a bad team, or is Tua really that bad? Because when he's in there, he's winning. And this is just looking at the numbers. Again, new head coach, new philosophy. We don't know how this is going to mold out. They did lose to the Buffalo Bills twice, but those are expected losses. There is no surprises with these two games. Again, Tua went out this week 2 game. This is actually when he got hurt. Let me highlight that so we could put things in perspective. But all the teams they lost to are really good teams, like Buffalo, Tennessee at that time. We have the Bucks and we have the Colts. So when we face, or let's say for instance, if we're gonna make a bet on Miami, just make sure if it's a team over 500 that we have to be extremely conservative. Team over 500, especially if it's like you have the GOAT, you have a really good Indianapolis team. But we're going to get into the opponents in a second. Just wanted to note this may be significantly different. I'm not sure what kind of defense they're going to run, not sure what kind of offense they're going to run. But what we can be sure of is that this is going to be an extremely hard season for the new head coach. And here is the reason why. And right now, well, let's get into the opponents before I actually give a total number. See if something pops in my mind here, just to be a little more conservative, like 48.5. That's going to be my, again, like I said, that's my base number going into the season. Now, over or under, that's a different story. We have to really break down what this team can possibly do. So the first game, let's talk about these first games. We have the New England Patriots, right? So New England Patriots, well, let's just scroll down. So we have the Patriots, we have the Ravens, and we have the Buffalo Bills. We have a really good head coach. We have a really good team and a really good head coach. And you have a really good team that you have to face. These are two really tough games. Everything in light blue are the divisional opponents. And the teams in orange are teams that may give them the most problems. Now, breaking this down, I'm looking at them to lose this game. Your first head coaching position, you have to face Bill Belichick. That's never good. The edge is more towards New England Patriots. Now, you would think, all right, if they lose that game, they have to win this one. No, not really, because this head coach, Jim Harbaugh, one of the top 10 head coaches in the NFL right now. He has a really good team. He has a really good defense, and that's going to be a tough win. Plus, this is a sandwich game in between two divisional opponents. So I'm looking at them to lose this one. I'm looking at them to lose that one, and I'm looking at Miami to focus more towards this Buffalo Bills team. Now, again, different head coach, different philosophy. I'm not sure if that's what he's thinking, but as far as me looking at the teams, that is the best scenario. I would definitely focus on this first game, winning this first game, and more worried about this Buffalo Bills team and trying to pull out a win for that. But if they lose all 3 of these games, I'm looking at them to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, you have to beat the Bengals at this point. That is a must-win game. So them beating the Bengals, I want to see if they can get a +3. If they can get a +3 early, I'm jumping on that number, because that is a must-win for them. Then you have the New York Jets. So you at least need your first win. I think the first one is more important than actually uh, winning against your divisional opponents, especially being a new head coach. You got so much pressure. You just want to get that first win. So if they win against the Bengals, I'm looking at them to win against the New York Jets as well. They lose against the Bengals, they have to win against the Jets. You would think with that team, with that offense, with that pressure on his shoulders, he's going to have to win one of these two games. It's a must. But I do like these teams. I do like this game to go over. I do like this game to go under with a Baltimore win. The Buffalo Bills, that's going to be a tough game. I'm going to go more towards the over, depending on what the kind of team I'm looking at. I'm going to have to adjust this on the during the season because this is a really interesting schedule and a different dynamic than what I'm used to as far as head coaching, as far as a good team. Like, they have a really good team, and if he does bad, he's gonna be, yeah. Let's just hope he pulls out a win in one of these games. If he pulls out a win in one of these games, it's gonna change my whole philosophy going forward. But I'm looking at the downside for most of these games. So Cincinnati Bengals, New York Jets. I do like that game to go to the over. Cincinnati Bengals, again, I like that game. Depending on what I'm getting, I like that game to go over. Minnesota Vikings, they're kind of more so on their level. Then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's not forget Brian Flores. He's actually the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so you know he's going to have it out for the Miami Dolphins. And then you have Mike Tomlin and a top 10 team who's been top 10 in defense for the past 10 years. Good head coach. It's going to be a tough team to beat with the Steelers. You have the Detroit Lions. Depending on what the Detroit Lions and the injuries, how they're looking, they could pull out a win in this game. Chicago Bears, Cleveland Browns, those are all winnable. That's before a bye. Houston Texans, again, a winnable game. Then you have San Fran. And all of these games, I'm looking to go under the total. I want to say the total could be a. Now, again, I'm saying that right now. That can change during the season. But I'm looking at either I'm going to tease it up to 48.5 and bet the under. So as long as I can get um, 48.5 points on these teams, I'm going to bet the under, especially with this Houston one as well. San Francisco at San Fran, depending on what San Francisco's looking like, that might be a tough. This Los Angeles Chargers, definitely a tough matchup. Definitely at Los at the Chargers. And you have the Buffalo Bills again, the Packers, the Patriots, and the New York Jets to end it off, and that probably is going to end up being a win. So with that being said, we can only go, like, we have to be conservative. So I'm going to give them a under 48.5. That's so much offense they have. I'm not sure if they're going to be more offensive, more of an offensive team or defensive team. We're still waiting to see what this team is gonna be. And with that being said, to make a solid bet, like the first game, I'm leaning more towards the Pats. So until they show us different, and until this head coach, that he might be a really good head coach, but until we see otherwise, we really can't make a bet on the Miami Dolphins. I think this is what you call what is it? Pretty much leading us into a trap. We see how good this team is, how good this team can be. If a good team, let's say for instance, if the Baltimore Ravens have a bad week and the Miami Dolphins look really good, but again, this is what you call leading into a trap, because the Baltimore Ravens may have a really good game against Miami, but this is a sandwich game. But I'm expecting Baltimore to win that one. So if the Bills look bad, like the first two games, Bills look really bad, that might be a what we call a trap, trying to get you to bet on Miami. And Miami looks really good this year, but they may be really bad because of the new head coach. But then again, that's all speculative. That's all speculative. Speculative. I can't speak today. But with that being said, I'm going to go with a 48.5 to the under. I think that's the best scenario at the moment, and a +3 with a point. And that's all I have for you today. Like, subscribe, share, and most importantly, bet wisely. I'll catch you next week. I'll probably put out a video with the Pittsburgh Steelers.